हे दोस्तों, वेलकम टू अपना कम्युनिटी। ये वो जगह है जहां आप अपने असली पोटेंशियल को एक्सप्लोर कर सकते हैं। देखो, सबके पास स्किल्स होते हैं, पर क्या आपके अंदर वो स्पार्क है जो आपको कामयाबी की ऊंचाइयों तक ले जा सकता है? अगर आप सोच रहे हैं जॉब चेंज करने के लिए लेकिन रेज्यूमे सेलेक्ट नहीं हो रहा या फिर इंग्लिश में इंटरव्यू देना थोड़ा चैलेंजिंग लग रहा है, तो फिक्र मत कीजिए। यहाँ हम हैं आपके साथ, आपको सपोर्ट करने के लिए। अपना कम्युनिटी में आपको मिलेगी बेहतरीन कम्युनिटीज जहां आप अपने प्रोफेशनल स्किल्स को सुधार सकते हैं। चाहे आप एक्सेल, टैली, जीएसटी में माहिर बनना चाहें या फिर आप खुद एक ब्यूटिशियन या डिजाइनर हैं, तो यहां आप अपने काम को शोकेस करके दूसरों को टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स देते हुए आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। अपना कम्युनिटी में आपको मिलेगा मेंटर्स का एक खजाना और बड़े इन्फ्लुएंसर्स का साथ जो आपको हर कदम पर 1-to-1 गाइड करेंगे। यहाँ आप ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं अपने फील्ड या इंडस्ट्री स्पेसिफिक ग्रुप्स, जहां आपको ऐसे कई लोग मिलेंगे जिनसे सीख के आप वो गलती ना करें जो वो कर चुके हैं। ऐसे लोगों की जिन्होंने स्टार्ट किया था एज एग्जीक्यूटिव्स एंड आर नाउ सक्सेसफुल मैनेजर्स इन देयर डोमेन्स, जो आपको आगे बढ़ाने में मदद करेगा। यहाँ आपको मिलेगा वो सही डायरेक्शन जो आपकी करियर को नेक्स्ट लेवल ले जाएगा। तो लेट्स अनलॉक योर पोटेंशियल टुगेदर। अपना कम्युनिटी में ज्वाइन करें और अपने सपनों की ऊंचाइयों तक पहुंचने का सफर शुरू करें।
Hey, hey everyone. Sorry. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining today. We'll be starting today's session now. Welcome to today's exclusive sessions. It's a webinar series in association with QFIS that we have been conducting for the last couple of months. We've covered a variety of topics so far. The main objective of these sessions is to help you grow professionally, help in the advancement of your career, help you get better jobs, and also expose you to industry experts who can provide you valuable insights through their experience. So today's session is about tech interview essentials. For this session, we have Mohit with us. A quick introduction about Mohit. He's a skilled professional with experience in web development, digital marketing, and project management. He's a proficient in various tools like Python, JavaScript, and he's worked on website development and digital marketing campaigns alike. Mohit also demonstrates strong leadership and team management skills. He has several years of experience as a mentor as well, and he has helped freshers and working professionals alike. So we're glad to have him with us today. Thank you so much, Mohit, for joining us. Guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat box. If you're logging in from your phone, go to the in-call messages option. You can find the chat box there. You can also unmute yourselves while Mohit is answering the questions so that you can ask him directly. आपका कोई भी सवाल कभी भी हो, आप चैट बॉक्स का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। अगर आप अपने फोन से लॉगिन कर रहे हैं तो आपको इन कॉल मैसेजेस वाला ऑप्शन दिखाई देगा, वहां पे जाइए और आपको चैट बॉक्स दिखाई देगा। आपको अनम्यूट करने का मौका भी दिया जाएगा जब मोहित सवाल का जवाब दे रहे हैं। सो विदाउट फर्दर अड्यू, मोहित, हैंडिंग इट ओवर टू यू।
Thank you, Siddharth. Hey everyone, welcome to this session. So today's session will be around acing the soft technical interviews. So yeah, let's directly start the slide. Share my screen. Yeah, I hope my screen is visible. Siddharth, can you confirm?
Yeah, it's loaded. Yeah, now it's just
Okay. Okay, so welcome everyone. So this session will be around tech interview essential and how you can ace your interviews in the industry. Before we start, so Siddharth has already given my introduction, but to add to his point, so I am currently working as a senior software engineer in Uber, and I have 6+ years of experience as a software engineer in Android as well as in front end as well as backend domain. Before Uber, I had worked with Samsung, Jilingo, and Sarchat. And now, why I'm a good candidate for this session is because I have cleared interviews in companies like Google, Amazon, Flipkart, etc. And I have given interviews in more than 10 to 15 plus companies. And I have also took 200 plus interviews in Sarchat as well as in Uber in across multiple domains for mobile, for backend, different kinds of interviews like algorithm, system design, bar result. So yeah. Okay. So first part is how to prepare for the interviews. Okay. So before we start, so let's first understand the hiring process. So in the hiring process, your first stage is application step, where you apply for the for a role, and in that it includes resume screening. So so for any application, we get for any open role, we get applications in thousands. Okay, and so we have some tools that filter out the resumes. Then we also do manual screening of the resume, because you cannot rely 100% on the tools. So after this, we identify 50 to 100 people who are kind of a good candidate for that role, and then we start the interview process. Now to filter out from those 50 to 100 people, we have online assessment. So generally online assessment is like a online coding round, and from that round lot of people gets eliminated. After that, generally companies have coding or DSL go round, then one or two technical depth or domain knowledge round. So this round is related to domain. For example, if you are applying for a mobile role, then it will be a mobile round, whether it's an Android or iOS. If you're applying for backend or web, then it will be specific to backend or web. Then there is a system design round. If you are applying for a senior position like SD2 or senior software engineer or staff or above that, then there will be a system design round, where knowledge of your low level design and high level design will be major focused. And then there will be hiring manager behavioral round, which basically for to check candidates soft skill, candidate leadership skill, their collaboration with different teams, how they handle the challenges, how they handle the blockers or unknown work or team collaboration with other team. And type of interviews like coding, system design, and behavioral. So resume and portfolio building. So whenever you are building your resume, so four things you should be kept in mind. First is clear, concise. It's okay. So it doesn't matter if your resume is 2 page or 8 page. So generally, any person who is reviewing your resume, they don't spend more than 30 seconds on your resume. So they have only 30 seconds. So if you have 8 page resume, they are not even going to go after 2 pages. So it is recommended that you have your resume in max 2 pages, and if possible, then 1 page. It should be concise, to the point. It should be project driven. Okay, so if you are applying as a fresher, then it should include your project in from your college, from your internship. If you are applying as an experienced engineer or experienced professional, then it should include your company projects, what you have done now. So I have seen a lot of resumes, and the mistake which is commonly made by people is they insert the product or feature related information, that there was login feature in this product, or in any other feature, uh, booking feature, all those things. So we are not interested in these things. We are interested in what you have contributed in that project technically, what metrics you have affected, how you have affected, what you learned from those projects. So you should include those things. And last is quantifiable information. Like if you can add something like that you reduce the number of crashes, or if you reduce the number of bugs by X percentage, Y percentage, you increase the profit by X percentage, or you did X percentage cost cutting in your project, then that's what we are generally looking for. Then key project to highlight. You can include the GitHub portfolio definitely, but what I would personally suggest is keep the project which are complex, like not very simple, challenging, and impactful in your resume. Feel free to ask any doubt in between the session for any slide. Okay, then key skills to focus on. So first is programming language. Now, if you are very new to the programming, then pick a language based on the industry demand. For example, Python, Java, C++. So C++ is not very in demand nowadays. You can pick if you want to pick a language from backend perspective, then pick Python or Java or Go. If you are someone who wants to work in the front end or web domain, then I would recommend JavaScript and React.js and all those platforms. So second is, while picking the language, have the domain interest first, because if you are not interested in the domain, then you will not feel or not enjoy your work. then it will feel like a burden to you that you have to mandatorily do something and not enjoy your work. So if you, for example, if you want to pursue your career in mobile, in Android, then select Kotlin. If iOS, then Swift. Then data structure and algorithms. So it is very important skill because almost every good company will have data structures and algorithm as first few rounds to eliminate people who doesn't have good problem solving skills. We'll see in the further next slides what all things to cover in the data structure. And then is the system design fundamentals. So system, if you are applying for senior role, for example, ST2 or senior software engineer staff, then system design is very important. For SD1s or as a fresher, system design is kind of like an optional thing that if you perform good, then it's a bonus point. But if you don't perform well in system design, but you perform well in other round, then also you can be hired. Okay, so how to ace the technical interviews? Coding interviews. So when you are preparing for the coding interviews, understand the time and space complexity. So for example, any algorithm that you come up with, what is the time complexity of that algorithm? What is the space complexity of that algorithm? It should be for you. It should be very easy to find time complexity or space complexity for any code that you write. It's like the basic necessity for any coding interviews. Then you should know about the common data structures like array, string, linked list, tree, graph, BST, and others as well. So by knowing, I don't mean that you should know just the basic part, but you should also know what are pros and cons of this specific data structures. In which places, what is the use case of this data structures? For example, let's say you want to print some strings. Then you can use array as well for those use cases. You can use strings as well for those use cases. So based on problem to problem, you should be able to identify which data structure would be fit here. Then common algorithms like sorting algorithm, searching, greedy, traversal, Dijkstra, DP, uh, recursion. So all those algorithms you should cover. For learning resources, so Geeks for Geek is a very good platform which covers almost every types of data structures, almost all the algorithms from basic to advanced to intermediate. You can go through Geek for Geek for learning. And to clear the coding interview, there is no other way than practice, because without practicing the coding yourself, you will not be able to learn. So coding or data structure algorithm is a topic which you cannot learn by just reading. Okay, it will be just a theoretical knowledge, but in interviews you have to perform practically. So you have to practice them. And some of the good platform to practice the for interviews is LeetCode and HackerRank and HackerRank. I would personally prefer and suggest LeetCode because the type of question that LeetCode has, they are generally from the interview perspective, not for the competitive coding. Then level of expertise needed in coding interviews. So if you are able to perform, like if you are able to solve medium to hard questions on lead code, medium to hard level questions on lead code within 15 to 20 minutes, then you can apply for Google, Facebook, Amazon, Uber kind of companies, because then you will be able to solve 90% of their problems. If you want to apply for Zomato, Grad, Flipkart, or such startups, then you should at least try to have proficiency in medium level questions, easy and medium level questions. And for easy medium question level, for product based startup and companies which are not very focused on data structure algorithm rounds, so there are a lot of companies, for example PhonePe doesn't have coding round. So there are a lot of startups which are trying different kinds of interview process where they don't ask for coding interviews. So in those companies, or they ask for very simple or basic coding interviews. So for them, you should try to cover at least easy to medium level proficiency. Okay, coding interview tips. So if you are, whenever you are planning to give a coding interview, so in your interview, you should think aloud. Basically, what is your thought process? What are you thinking from the questions? What different kinds of approaches you are thinking of? If you are if you are thinking if X algorithm or X approach can be used for this solution, just think aloud, so that interviewer can know what is your thought process. It's not like that you are randomly trying. Basically, interviewer want to know if you are randomly trying the algorithms without knowing whether it will work or not, or if you are actually running a proper process, actually going through a proper stages and calculation to find out the correct algorithm. Then clarify the problem before jumping into the solution. Basically, get your constraint correct. Constraint correct means what is the domain of the problem. For example, let's say problem is sort this array. Then what is the domain? Domain means how long array could be, whether it will have 10 max 10 power 6 numbers or 10 power 9 numbers. Get your constraint correct. Make sure your assumptions are correct. So in your algorithm or coding problem, sometimes it might happen that your problem is vague. You might have some assumptions for the problem. Just make sure that all whatever assumption you are assuming, they are correct. Basically clarify them with the interviewer. Then algorithm time complexity should be optimized for the solution before you start writing the solution. Okay, so if you are not able to find a optimized solution, uh, then don't try to write the solution. Try to come up with the correct algorithm, then only start writing the solution part. Time management and partial solution. Okay, second point, important point is always try to complete the solution. So let's say your interview is of 1 hour and you have one problem to solve. And if you are spending more than 30 minutes to just think about the optimized solution, then you won't be able to write even the brute force approach in the interview. So just give 15 to 20 minutes if you're not able to find the correct solution, and if you are not able to get any hints from interview, just go with the brute force and complete the solution. Workable solution is important. Even if your solution is optimized but you are not able to complete the solution, then you might not clear the round. So workable solution is very important. Last point is cover the edge cases. So sometimes it happens that you have cleared the problem, you have also given the optimized solution, but you have not covered the some critical edge cases. So always try to cover your critical edge cases. Always try to come up with good number of edge cases. And generally, these edge cases are also domain specific. For example, if your question contains an array as a subject on which you have to do some process, then what could be the edge case of an array? Empty array, or maximum large space array, or an array with null characters or empty character, like those things. If it's a matrix, then your matrix edge cases for a matrix could be empty matrix, then just a single row, single column, the maximum constraint that is given by the question, or the boundary of your metric. So those are generally the edge cases. So like that, for every type of problem, there are some specific critical edge cases which you should always cover. Technical rounds. So technical rounds are domain specific rounds. If you are giving for mobile like Android or iOS, then this round will cover your Android or mobile iOS knowledge. If you are going for giving an interview for backend or web, then it will cover the backend or web. So generally, this round can be theoretical or practical. So in some companies like to have a theoretical round where they will ask you things about or your knowledge about the specific domain. And some companies like to have practical round, basically where they will ask you to write small piece of code in that domain. For example, if you are giving interviews for Android, then we will ask you to write a simple feature in an application or debug some application like that. So for this round, domain knowledge is important. And as the level grows, for example, from SD1 to SD2 to senior, the expectation for the depth of knowledge also grows. OOPS concept are very important here. OOPS is basically object-oriented programming. So the knowledge of OOPS concept is very important. Code writing is expected to be good. Okay. So in this round, you cannot write a bad code. Like it can happen that you write the correct code, but not a good code. And if you're writing correct code and not a good code, then also you can get rejected. Then system design round. In system design round, okay, so what system design round test is if your solution is scalable or not, how reliable your solution is, how optimized your solution is, and what is the fault tolerance. So whenever you design a solution or approach for system design interviews, always think from this point: scalability, reliability, optimization, and fault tolerance. What should be your approach? Define the problem. So generally in system design, problems are very vague. For example, design a WhatsApp system or Instagram or Uber or URL sorting service. Problems are very vague. So you have to define the problem. You have to give the requirements. Now you have to define what are functional requirements, what are non-functional requirements, and just check, confirm with the interviewer whether you have to solve problem for just these requirements or they want to add any other requirements. Practice the high level design scoping of a problem, how to scope the high level design of any problem, what all different components will be there, how you will draw them out on a white paper or board or white on a screen. Then component for different components, practice the low level design. So it might happen that in different components that you have given in the high level design, interviewer pick one component and then you start going in depth in that component. So in that, for that times, low level design skills will come into the picture. Now, some of the examples for system design problems are like URL sorting service, for example, sort an URL, then WhatsApp, design an Instagram, design a YouTube or Netflix. Anyone? Any questions till now?
Guys, if you have any questions, please do ask. You can use the chat box or you can even unmute your mic. So please do utilize the time.
Let me know if I'm going very fast and if you want uh, some more details on a specific slide, feel free to let us know. Okay, let's go to the next one. Yeah. So next is the behavioral and soft skills round. So in behavioral interview preparation, use a STAR method. STAR method is called situation, task, action, and result. Basically, whatever problem that you are defining. So what was the situation? What were the tasks given for that situation? What action you took? And what was the result? Always try to explain your problem in the STAR format. And common questions are generally around teamwork, how you handle the teamwork, your conflict resolution. For example, they might ask that how do you resolve, like what you did when you weren't agree with your manager on some approach or some task, what you did when you were not agreeing with some approach of your colleague or the team that you are collaborating with. How did you resolve those conflicts? Then your leadership experience, basically whether you have mentored anyone in your team, whether you have managed manages your junior or interns, whether you have onboarded them, so your leadership skills. And generally, tailoring of these answers are to highlight both technical and interpersonal skills. So how you are, like how well you are as an engineer and how well you are as an people as a person who can be a manager in future. Soft skills that matter. First is communication, explaining your complex ideas in a simple manner. Okay, so it might happen that you have a good knowledge on system design or good knowledge in behavioral round, but you are not able to explain them properly. Okay, so communication is very important. You should be able to explain uh, almost anything, your ideas, your approach to your interviewer. And whenever you are giving interviews, just think from this perspective that the person who is interviewing you doesn't have any knowledge, like zero knowledge. So always explain in such a manner that person who has zero knowledge about that domain, that feature, uh, uh, that process, they can understand that. Problem solving mindset, adaptability, and willingness to learn. If in your interviews you are giving signal that you are not open for new challenges, then it can be a red flag. So always try to not give such signals and always be positive with confident and someone with an mindset to uh, challenge different problems and think out of the box. Okay, interview strategies. So before interviews, practice mock interviews. Ask your friend or ask your colleague to take your mock interviews. Then if you can have mock interviews with domain expert, then try to get them as well. Now these mock interviews are very important because these interviews will give you the knowledge where you are lacking in your knowledge, whether you need to improve your communication skill, your soft skill, whether you need to improve your technical knowledge, whether you need to improve your uh, some domain specific, some particular sector in your, or some particular gap in your knowledge, or whether you need to improve your data structure and algorithm. And so always it is a good practice and try to have mock interviews before giving in a good companies. Then mental preparation, confidence, stress management. Okay, generally interviews are time bound. In time bound, it might happen that you have to solve one problem, two problem, three problem. So stress management is important. You will get lot of pressure during your interview. So have some confidence. And when you, so you can only uh, cover this point, like cover these scenarios when you have given mock interviews or you have put yourself in such a time bound environment. Revisiting the key concept and taking breaks. Okay, and one of my best strategy for while preparing is always prepares round by round. For example, generally in every company, first few rounds are data structures and algorithm round. So first prepare yourself for data structures and algorithm, so that whenever you start giving interviews, and it might happen that you are giving interviews in multiple companies at the same time. So generally in all the companies, you will be giving your first few rounds will be data structures and algorithm. Second is cover your technical domain specific knowledge. Learn about good practices, bad practices, good architectures, code writing, solid principles. Then you should also, then after that you can cover the system design rounds. So in system design round, in your domain, what is the scalability problem, what is the reliability problems, what are some of the fault tolerance that you should cover, what are some good design principles, which type of design you should use, whether you should use load balancer or not, in mobile, whether you should use caching or not, whether what all things you need to take care. Generally problems for mobile and backends are very different, so from domain to domain just cover those topics. And for hiring manager round or behavioral round or leadership round, try to have some mock interviews with people or expert or your friends or colleagues, and also cover some of the basic questions, like well-known questions, like how you will resolve conflict, how you handle the leadership, how you have shown the leadership skills or your team collaboration skills. Okay. During the interview, manage your time, prioritizing the problem. Okay, so as I said, for example, in coding round, generally coding rounds are of 1 hour, 45 minutes to 1 hour. And if there are two problems in that round, then try to come up with a solution within 5 to 10 minutes. Because if you are not coming up with a solution within 5 to 10 minutes, then you won't be able to complete the solution or implementation in next 20 minutes. So if it is two questions, then just make sure that your timing is correct. If there is one question in one round, then try to come up with the solution within first 20 minutes so that you can spend the next 20-30 minutes in the implementation part. Ask clarifying questions before starting. So before you start thinking of the solution, ask the clarifying questions. Just make sure whatever assumption you are making, they are correct and you have assumed them correctly. And whatever constraints you are assuming, or try to find what are the constraints of the problem. Stay calm when faced with unexpected question. So it might happen that during your data structure and algorithm practice, you have come up with lot of patterns, but the question was completely different. Generally, when you are giving interviews in companies like Google, Facebook, Uber, so they don't follow question back. And generally, the questions they ask are from their real life experience, real life problems, so which are very new to candidates. So just don't fear, just think through the problem openly, calmly, and you will be able to find the solution. After the interview, reflect on your performance. Okay, what went well, what didn't. It is very important that after every interviews, you keep a note of these 2 points: what went well and what didn't. Follow up. So thank you email, reiterating your interest, like a regular thing. Handling rejection. Now, it is almost certain that you will be rejected in your first few companies. When you are starting your preparation, you will be rejected in first few companies. So always learn from the feedback, stay motivated. Clearing interviews in the first few companies is always difficult. It is not just you, it is almost everyone. Okay, so I'll tell you my story. When I was giving interview in ShareChat, I was rejected by 7 companies. Okay, so 7 companies means almost you can say 10, 11 interviews. Okay, so what is important here? Okay, so if you're clearing any round, any interview, you are basically not learning anything new from those interviews. Apart from experience, knowledge wise, you are not gaining anything. Okay, only opportunity that you have for learning from interviews is from the interviews in which you are rejected, because you were rejected for some reason and you need to identify what those reasons are. Okay, whether it was a knowledge gap, whether it was a communication skill, whether it was some misunderstanding, some other reason, just try to find out what those reasons are and try to cover those reasons. Okay, for example, I give you an example. So for example, let's say technical round. So in technical round, as I said, it could be a theoretical round, it could be a practical round. When it's a theoretical round, they generally ask you from the knowledge of the domain, and generally domains, for almost every domain, is very large. It is not possible to know everything about everything in specific domain. Okay, so what will happen in your theoretical round? Let's say you are asked 10 questions, and from those 10 questions, you were in your first interview, you were able to answer 5 questions but not able to answer 5 questions. So when you so when you are evaluating, you need to find out what are the answers of those 5 questions. In the next interview, it might happen that you are able to answer 6 but not 4. Just find out what those 4s are. In the next interviews, you will be able to clear 8 and 2. And after that, one interview will come when you will be able to answer all 10 questions. Why? Because those questions were asked in the previous interviews and in which you were not able to answer them. And but after evaluation, you learned about them. Okay, that's how your knowledge will grow. So every failed interview is an opportunity for you to learn something. You need to, but evaluation is very important. You need to evaluate what went wrong in those interviews, what were the gaps, so that you can cover them in your next interview. Interview tips: give as much interviews as possible. Okay, I'll tell you my personal strategy. So let's say if I want to start preparing myself for an interviews, then what I'll do, I'll take few months, 1 to 2 months, for preparing myself in data structure, algorithm, system design, technical knowledge, and all those for all those round. After that, I will give interviews in few of the companies where I don't want to go. So I'm giving these interviews to judge the water, to see where I am currently uh, standing, what are the gaps in my knowledge, what all things I need to prepare. And once I am confident that now I will be able to crack most of the interviews, after that I'll start giving interviews in the companies where I want to go. Okay. Why? Because every opportunity is a very rare opportunity. Okay. If you are getting an opportunity to give an interview in a good company, then it's a very rare thing. And in your interviews, two things plays out. One, your hard work, skill and knowledge. Second, your luck. Now you cannot change your luck, but you can definitely change your skills using your hard work. So just make sure that if luck is in your favor, then you are not getting rejected because of your lack of preparation. Okay, so every opportunity miss is a very, like, it's a huge loss for you. So just make sure that for every opportunity, you are at least from your end prepared for that. Okay, learn from your interview experience. Then, as I said, every field interviews are great source of learning, because these are the interview experiences where you are actually learning something different, something new about your soft skills, about your communications, about your knowledge, data structures, all those things. Okay, Q&A. So let us know, folks, if you have any queries, questions. I think I have went real fast. Let me know if there is any point that you want to cover again in detail. I would be happy to cover them.
We have a question, Mohit. How can we show quantity in our web development projects?
Okay, so there are multiple ways. Let me check who asked this question. Okay, Dipesh. So, hey Dipesh, so in web development project, so there are multiple ways to show quantifiable information. For example, let's say in every web development project, you have some metric to cover. For example, how fast your screen or page got rendered on the client device, on the client web page. So these are the metrics. Around, like around those metrics, there are a lot of different parameters like bugs, error rate, and frame freezing. So all those metrics you can cover. If there is something that you have impacted in the product side, for example, increase any profit or reduce any cost of the product, so all those metrics also you can cover. If there are metrics that has impacted the efficiency of product or use retention of user of or help the product in getting new users, so all those metrics also you can cover. So in for every metrics, there are two part. Those metrics could be engineering metrics or those metrics could be product metrics. So try to find out which all metrics your product is impacting and what all metrics your work has affected.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Great. Any other question, folks? We have a lot of time left. So one question, if before anyone asks, Mohit, I keep seeing in these sessions is the issue of nervousness. I know you said you have to practice and look at mock interviews. So if you can also summarize that section or add on any tips for nervousness specifically.
Yeah, yes, that you definitely raise a good point. So nervousness is very natural, and it almost like everyone I think have felt nervousness in few of their interviews, or at least in the starting of the interviews. And it's a good thing. It means that you are aware about the risk of failing, and you are aware about the pressure. Now, only way to come like to get rid of that nervousness is practice. Okay, so you don't feel nervous when you are confident on your knowledge, on your skill. When you are confident enough that the interviewer can ask anything and I'll be able to come up with a solution. So you need to. Second thing that I have seen people that they are knowledgeable, they have the knowledge, but they lack that confidence. And because of that lack of confidence, they feel nervous in the interviews or they feel anxiety. So for those people, the best solution is the mock interviews. Just ask your friends, colleague to take your mock interviews so that you can get a gist of what how those interview sessions will be, and try to have some mock interviews with the strangers. It can be domain expert, it can be some people that you met on LinkedIn. Just request them if they can take the mock interviews, because it might happen that you are feeling confident enough with your friends or colleagues, but with strangers the interviewers are not going to be your relatives or someone you are familiar with, so they will be strangers. So with strangers you will get the real experience of how you are going to perform in the interviews.
Yeah, that's a good point, guys. Mock interviews is the best way. So, are there any resources? I know there are a lot of platforms and a lot of how to say, lot of companies have now come up with using AI as the avatar who takes the interviews and such. Any
Yeah, don't
recommend?
don't don't use AI avatar for interviews, because your interviews will be taken by humans. So AI could be like a very formal, standardized, and in a streamlined way of interviews. Just like instead of giving mock interviews with AI, I would prefer giving mock interviews with real folks. So there are a lot of people and a lot of platform. For example, TopMate is one of the platform where a lot of people are there, a lot of experts are there who can take your mock interviews. Apart from there, you can also try to check with your connections in LinkedIn or some domain expert on the LinkedIn. Find the domain expert and check with them if they can take your mock interviews. And there are also other platforms like I think uh, some interview mockinterview.com or something like that, mocks.com, where you can pay and get some mock interviews. But what I will suggest, that before going for paid mock interviews, try to have some mock interviews with your friends and colleagues, and and try to have mock views with the people who have some experience with the companies in which you are targeting. For example, if let's say you have interviews in Google or Facebook or Cred or Flipkart in coming month, then try to find people who have given those interviews and then check with them if they can take the mock interviews, because they are the one who have the best experience of those interviews. And if you can find someone from those companies itself, then it's the best thing, because they will be aware about the correct expectation from the candidate.
Yeah, makes sense. Even I had that apprehension when I think nowadays almost every company working in the academic or education space is integrating this AI avatar into their platform where you can take these interviews. So you guys know better, so that's why I thought I'll check with you. One more question I keep seeing, Mohit, is which you also mentioned some emails can be sent before, after the interview.
Yeah.
Uh,
So there is one common thing that in case if you have given an interview and you did well, then you will get a response from HR very quick. But if you haven't like perform well, or if company is not very much interested in you more, then they might not even respond you, or might not just uh, confirm you or give you any update regarding the interview. So main reason behind that is, for any role there are lots of applications, lot of people are plan to give interview for that role. For example, if I'll say for Uber, then every role that we open, so I remember that last time when we opened for fresher role, so we got around 4 to 5,000 applications in just one night, and it is humanly not possible to uh, check resumes of 4 to 5,000 people. So generally, what is the process is that they will check resumes of few hundred people. They will filter out them, and then they will share the coding interview problem or online assessment so that it can filter out furthermore. Then there will be interview round scheduled for 30 to 40 folks. But that is just for one role. And HR team is doing that for multiple roles which are open in the company. So if you have performed well, and if your next round is going to schedule, then they will be very quick to respond you. But if you haven't performed well, or they think that you are not a good fit for that role, then they will delay it or they will completely abandon it. So if you actually want to get some feedback, then I would suggest to follow up with them so that they can. So it's basically you are reminding them that you are still in the loop, even though it might happen that your application is rejected, but it can remind them to share some feedback with you. Okay. And I have personally seen in Uber also that if you follow up with the HR, then they will give you some feedback.
this follow-up timeline, like, is there a template to it? Like, some I've heard some people say first follow-up should be after, like you said, after the interview. Then the next follow-up can be after 24 hours.
Yeah. So first follow up should be not just after the interview, because uh, for every so the interview that is taking your interview. So sometimes it happens that they take 24 hours to write your feedback. So so it depends on interviewer when they share their feedback with the HR. So I would personally say your first follow up could be after 1 to 2 days. So that till that time, there is high probability that your feedback will be shared with the HR. And after that, try to have follow up with after like every 3 4 days. You can keep following up with them in case if they have any feedback from the interviewers or not.
So you recommend, like, after that, is there a number of follow-ups that you recommend in case, like, people are not
So
responding?
for following up, there is no limit, right? Unless and until you get a response, you can keep trying. It might
Okay.
happen that you never listen, like get a email back from HR. It might happen that you might get a call or email feedback on email. So there are some companies which are very good in giving feedback. For example, if you're giving interviews in these FANG companies like Google, Facebook, Uber, Netflix, then they are very good in giving feedback. So even if your interview is not like didn't went well, they will be quick to respond you, call you, and give you your feedback in detail. there are few companies which will not give you feedback like anything. They'll just abandon you, ghost you. You just have to evaluate yourself what went wrong, or try to take help from some expert in your contact. So what I have found is, so I also do this one-on-one sessions with other people or candidates or students who want to evaluate their interviews. And what I found is that people are not able to either evaluate their interviews or not able to find the correct evaluation for the interviews. What actually went wrong? So I find that if you are connecting with an expert, or if you are talking to one-on-one with some expert and sharing your interview experience, then they will be able to help you find out what actually went wrong so that you can focus on those areas. Because, for example, let's say you are strong in some data structure and algorithm, but you are weak in some data structure or algorithm which is important for that role, but you are not able to actually find out that you are actually weak in those areas, then you will not be able to prepare well for the next interviews. And interviews, in the failed interviews, they are the, I would say they are like a gold mine. They actually give you a lot of information on what things you need to improve. So that's why I said that my personal strategy is, initially I want to give interviews in the companies where I don't want to go, because I am certain that I will fail in those interviews. And those failed interviews will give me a lot of information on where I stand right now, and so that I can prepare well, so that I don't fail in the interviews in the companies where I actually want to go. That those areas are my already covered. So yeah, that would be my strategy.
It's a very bold strategy.
I would not recommend to that just keep clearing rounds of every company and then just keep saying no to every company. Just make sure that you are either getting rejected in those companies, or if you are actually good, then perform, maybe try to perform bad intentionally, so that you don't have to handle the negotiations and offer and all those scenarios.
That's really a good tip, guys. Sorry. Before I ask my next question, who all are here, please do fill the feedback form, guys, before you go. It's really important to us. So I think from my end, I have just one more question. Is there some, I know now ChatGPT and other platforms are there, but is there some resource you recommend for these email templates that guys can look at? Maybe
Yeah,
fresh.
ChatGPT is a good platform which can freely give you a good formal write up for feedback. But you can also keep the email very crisp. Just, hey, I had an interview on XYZ days. Can you please share the feedback? I didn't heard anything back from you or the team. I think just a clear, crisp email should be enough.
Okay, sounds good.
But generally, it happens right? In notification, only 2-3 lines are visible. After that, nothing
Yeah.
is visible in the notification. And if you're writing big email, then they definitely see that it's from some candidate. And if it's a big email, they will not just they might not just read it and just ignore. If it's just 2-3 line, then and like it's almost visible instantly. And if they have some time, then they will definitely be able to share the feedback.
Okay.
Okay, one more thing that I would like to cover. So I did not put that in the slide, but instead of applying directly, try to get some referral from the people who are present in the company if you want to get the interviews. And good thing about that is, so in case if you haven't performed well, and if you want to get some feedback, then if the person who referred you knows you or have some contact with you, then they might be able to get some internal feedback which they can share with you. So that would be a good resource. And also, if you are applying via referral, then the chances of getting interviews are high. So that is a very important point before applying in any other companies.
And where do you recommend majorly to apply, like LinkedIn, for example, Uber, if people want to apply?
Yeah, so there are multiple platforms for jobs like LinkedIn, InstaHire, and there is also Naukri.com. And what I have seen is the standard of companies on all these platforms, it differs a lot. If you want to apply on very big multinational companies, then LinkedIn is the best platform. If you want to apply in good product based startups or some uh, small multinational companies, then InstaHire is a very good platform. So you can apply on InstaHire. Then if you want to apply on big companies, then you can apply through LinkedIn or on. Generally, these big companies have their own official career pages where you have to apply. So apply on them. But I would suggest that before applying directly, check if you can get a referral, because if you can get a referral, then that would be the best source. And like referrals, the probability of getting an interview call through referral is very high instead of when you apply directly.
Okay. Do you think it's recommended to approach strangers for a reference?
Yeah, definitely. I get a lot of messages for referral in Uber or some other companies, and I try to respond to almost everyone who is messaging me. It might not be possible for me to refer everyone, because for us also to refer someone, we need to first evaluate whether that person is ready for the interviews or not. It might happen that you are not yet ready, but you still just want to give interview. So those people we try to avoid, because any referral that you are giving company is basically for company, you are a useful resource, and if you are recommending someone, then they are basically just trusting you that you will recommend someone who has a good profile, who has a good skill for that role. And if you are referring people who are not clearing the round, then it would be bad for your image as well. So I try to evaluate all the resumes and all the messages that I get, and if they are actually good candidate, then I definitely refer them. So like that, you can just go and message strangers. It might happen that some of them are responding, some of them are not, but who cares? Like, it's not like that you are getting any report back or spam or anything like that. Just feel free to message them and see how you look play out.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good strategy. I've used that myself. Cool, Mohit. So we can conclude any passing thoughts or any final thoughts.
Yeah, just prepare well, be confident. Confidence is a key in interviews. And I have seen that if you have a good enough confidence, then you can propose a bad solution and interviewers will might still believe that. So confidence is the key.
Yeah. So ending with an very amazing thought. I hope people don't take it in the wrong way as well.
Yeah, like it is very difficult to fool interviewers, but sometimes it might happen.
Cool.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah,
Sorry, what?
Dipesh, go. Yeah.
Sir, I have a question that if I want to if I want to pursue a job as a web developer, what skills are in demand as of nowadays?
Okay, so Deepesh, are you a student or a working professional?
No, I'm a fresher. Actually, I have graduated this year.
Hmm. Okay, so if you're a fresher, then you can start with the React Native. Okay, React Native is a platform or a framework which is heavily used by industries nowadays. And if you are for the React Native is for React Native, you need to learn JavaScript. If you haven't learned JavaScript yet, then I would suggest that you learn JavaScript. After that, also learn SaaS. So SaaS is a very good platform or a framework to handle the CSS and HTML part or the styling of the pages, and then learn about the React Native and learn about all the good practices, bad practices. And if you are a fresher, then try to create a good complex project in React Native. For example, build your own Flipkart or Amazon, or build your own website, a good website with lot of functionalities. And you can also try to use Firebase and other tools for database and other authentication purposes, so that can show your skills in that framework.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Cool. So with that, we come to the end of today's session. Thank you so much, Mohit, for joining us and for sharing your expertise with us. I believe everyone was listening keenly would have found this session useful. And also who will be tapping on this in the recording in the future will also find it very resourceful. So thank you everyone else also for joining in. And people who are here, please do fill the feedback form. It really helps us. You can visit the Apna website where you'll find the recording of this session and also the other sessions that we have organized in the past. You can check for upcoming events in the Apna community, exclusives page. You can also register there where you will see all the notifications for the upcoming engagements. So as mentioned earlier, we'll have these sessions every day. Tomorrow's session is at 7 p.m. We hope to see you all there. Thank you so much again, Mohit.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you, guys.
Have a good evening, guys. Take care. Good night.